Welcome to a Divided Kids Learning Session. Today we'll be discussing one of the technique for the preschool teachers, and this technique is called as scaffolding. This scaffolding technique is very easy to adopt in preschools, and most of the teachers, although they have been following such technique, but consciously we do not follow this beautiful technique called scaffolding. So today we'll be understanding what is scaffolding, and basically teachers in the preschools or parents, they can easily adopt this particular technique in order to build the skills in a very systematic manner. Now let's understand what is this scaffolding. This scaffolding, if we just look to the dictionary meaning of scaffolding, then it talks a temporary structure used to support work through and material to aid in the construction, maintenance of building, or maintenance of bridge, or any human-made structure. Meaning, if we experience while you look to the building of a particular structure, then what the construction workers they do, they create a temporary structure, then they use that structure and keep on building the complete building. It may be high storied building, it may be 10-storied building, it could be more than 50-storied building. But without this scaffolding or without this supporting structure, it is really difficult to build such a huge building of that kind. If that is the dictionary meaning of scaffolding, let's understand in the preschool segment how it can be applied, or as preschool teachers, how we can interpret this scaffolding. So, scaffolding, if we just adopt same kind of meaning into preschools, then it will relate to creating learning aids with clear learning objective for the kids to understand and do all these skills by themselves. Meaning, scaffolding in preschool is a kind of structure or kind of activities we prepare so that the kids can use that as a building stone, as a stepping stone to create bigger skills. So for that reason, this scaffolding is a very important technique. And if used in a very structured way, then it will create fantastic results for the kids' skill building process. Now, who is the person who has created this concept of scaffolding? Jerome Bronner is an American psychologist who is also known as father of scaffolding. Jerome Bronner's theory on constructive learning is very famous, not only in preschool years but also in advanced learning process of the children. And according to him, what he says, his theory of constructive theory, it says learning is an active process and that learners construct the meaning from their previous experience. So if we just make it little simpler, that means in a particular age of a child, when we try to provide some skill or some kind of learning to that child, each and every child construct those knowledge which are based on their previous experience. It's not like that a child will immediately grasp what the teacher is saying, but it will be largely impacted by their previous learning. So here what is more important, creating a very solid and very structured experience for the children is important, so that when they grow further, then whatever the learning process will be coming in front of them, they can utilize this solid structure very, very nicely in order to grasp those advanced knowledge. So constructive theory is directly related to the scaffolding, and scaffolding will not be very useful if we adopt them in the advanced age of the child. It will be having a beautiful and very, very impactful um, uh, thing on the child's life in the child's learning process if it will be implemented in the preschool years. Then we at Educated Kids, we have studied the whole scaffolding theory, and based on that, we have identified 7 components of the scaffolding for the teachers for their easy understanding so that they can implement it without much difficulties. Then let's go to the first component of scaffolding. Scaffolding is a technique to ensure that child does a task independently. Skill building process is all about making a child to do a particular task without support of anybody. So that is the ultimate outcome of anything that we are just trying to get it done by a child. And scaffolding theory or scaffolding as a technique, it ensures that child should do it independently. Now, age appropriate task is very, very important because when we talk about the preschool years, it starts with 2 years of age and tentatively gets completed at the 6 years age of the child. So whatever task we create during these years, it has to be age appropriate with clear learning objective. Tasks can be many, but objective could be one. So when objective is the something which is well understood, and based on that, any task can be defined which can be done for a child in a particular age. So under this, as a teacher, we need to take care of couple of important things. Number one is activity for each and every learning. As we know, in preschool years, Maria Montessori methods are very, very important method. And also we know children will be very quickly get bored if lot of writing and other things will be there, which are too much of academic, which should have been done at an advanced age. Therefore, play-based activity has to be created for each and every skill that has to be built for a child in the preschool. Then the task the child can do. It's not like that as a teacher, we can come with n number of activities. But if a child is 2 years of age, then all the tasks which are created for that age group children, we must ensure those tasks can be done by the children of that age. And most important thing is that each task must be connected with the learning objective, and it specifies which kind of skill will be developed by that particular task. So then Eduvarate has got a star module in its prime methodology. If somebody has not gone through the details, then I request please go through the star module, which will give further details about adopting the first component of scaffolding to this star module. Let's go to the second one, second component of scaffolding. Second component talks about the preschool needs a well documented process. If we recall the constructive theory of Brunner, then it says that all the learning in advanced age will be related to their exposure and experience in the previous occasions. So, in a nutshell, if a child in preschool years is not very structured, if the child has not been provided with a very, very processed way of learning, then skill adoption in advanced age will be a difficult task for the child. So, as scaffolding technique says, we must have a documented process in preschool skill building mechanism. It's very, very important. Doesn't mean that what curriculum, what syllabus you follow, but ensure as a teacher, as a school, you must have a structured, written, documented process for your preschool skill building process. Then only you can create value for the preschool education system, which will add value to the child's uh, further education system. Now, for that purpose, there are three things are very, very important when you are just trying to build a documented process in your school as a part of scaffolding. First is material and resources. So when we create activities, then we need a lot of material, lot of resources. As a teacher, you need to understand that and make a list and ensure all these things are available in your school while you just try to build a particular skill in the child. Second and most important thing is that instruction. When the material and resources are there in the school, then there must be a very, very structured way of instruction given to different children in their different age group. Again, if you just, recall the scaffolding dictionary meaning, that means a temporary structure is built to build the next level of story of a building. But if the instruction is not given properly to the workers, then it will be futile to use that structure per se. So therefore, when we have the materials, we have various art and craft material, we have various play methods. But if the instruction of the teachers are not appropriate, then scaffolding fails. Then the children, they do not learn. So instruction is very, very important part of the teacher's part, and therefore it has to be well structured and well designed. And finally, it's student grouping. As in EduVaret, we have been talking about different categories of children. There may be very, very brilliant children. There could be slow learners. So when we have in a class of mixed children and we create scaffolding for them, then we have to make a group to ensure different level of structure, different level of material for different group of people. So we can bring the best in the children. And that's what exactly is required in a preschool environment. So this is second component, make sure you have a very structured, documented process for the skill building activities in the school, which has these three things. Now let's go to the component. But before third component, all these things are well documented as the prime technique of tips. If you want to learn more about prime technique, then please get in touch with Eduvaret team. They will provide the details to you. Now, third one is, or third component of scaffolding is the use by default the material or props to teach each and every skill in the preschool years. Preschool years must be a place for enjoyment, place for too much of fun, and that fun must be connected to a particular skill. Now, when we have the props or material, these material can be pre-designed, meaning any of your academic partner, they can provide you some ideas about the pre-designed material for a particular skill, or teachers, if they are well equipped, well understood, well trained, they can create beautiful designs for the children to be engaged with. So that is very, very important. For example, if we are just teaching them the English letters of English alphabets, it's A, B, C, D, E, then material can be a wooden cutout of A. Material could be a craft paper where the E can be cut and shown to the children, or it could be the play dough, which can be, or clay, which can be used by the children to prepare the shape of all the English alphabet letters. So any kind of thing where teachers feel these materials can be used for skill building process, then definitely those things can be utilized. And to utilize them, it's not like that for tomorrow's class we'll be building it today, but it has to be planned well in advance. So ideally, 1 week's plan has to be done uh, well in advance, meaning for next week's plan, complete week's plan, we have to make in this week. It's not like that in that week, in that particular day's lecture or that particular day's teaching plan, we'll have to do on that same day. No, a teacher's life has to be very structured. They have to plan well in advance what kind of things has to be taken to the class and be utilized as a scaffolding for the children's skill building process. And here again, I refer Adiveret Kids Prime methodology, which has good, fantastic way of 5 modules, including play, cute, start, task, and save. In this, you can go to play module, which will give you a lot of understanding about how materials and props can be utilized for building the skill in the children. And then we'll move to our fourth component of scaffolding technique. And fourth component talks about a structure to teach each and every skill. We simply cannot go to the class and teach. Has to be taught. Teacher must plan a particular structure to teach. And structure is like, as we have been talking about, a kind of steps. Steps can be one structure. As we say that the moment you go to 10th step, you have to cross step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Then only you can move on further to reach step 10. But if you are having step 10 in mind, you cannot. It's next to impossible that a child can be directly on step 10. So to make sure to ensure child reaches to the step 10, we have to make step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 9. Then only child can reach to the step 10. So while I am referring to step 1 to n number of steps, that shows if we have created one activity for a particular skill building, then we must be having steps in that activity. So it has to be step 1, and it has to be defined very, very clearly. In step 1, child has to do this. Step 2, child has to do this. Step 3, child has to do this. So these steps are the easy way to get the things done. I'll give you one example. If you want to just go to, let's say, from one place to another place, if you just look, I'll be reaching on that place, it's really difficult to get this task done. But if you say that, first have one, let me uh, plan my vehicle. Then you can say what are the things I'll take with me. Then where I'll have to stop. So once you make these steps, then it will be easier for those things to get accomplished. So once a big task is subdivided into small tasks, then it becomes very clear and very small to get these things done. So it's just like, if you want to walk for, let's say, 10 kilometers, if you completely keep this 10-kilometer in mind, it's most likely that you may not travel that far. But if you keep that, 10-kilometer into 20 steps, step 1, I'll just go from this place to this place. That's all. I'll not look to anything else. So it becomes very easy to travel one place to another place, which may be 500 meters. So that is very easy. So that's where each and every task has to be subdivided into small, small steps, which will be easy for the child to remember and get it done. And all the steps we are creating has to be age appropriate. That means if a child is very, very small, 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years, then we know that the step has to be very, very tiny. In the sense that we can say that only just put one line. That's all. That could be one step. But if you uh, take a child in a senior kindergarten, then putting A could be one step. But for the nursery child, putting one slanting line could be first step. So that's how each and every activity has to be structured and divided into several steps. This is the fourth component of scaffolding. And once this is done, then whole task can be done without much difficulty. And for that purpose, I'll bring to your notice that Edivare Kids has done quite a lot of research about the cognitive development, about the structured way of skill building. You can go to its training on 7 steps of cognitive skill building. That's where you can get a lot of idea how the steps can be built. Then we'll move to the fifth component. And fifth component talks about the concept of ZPD. ZPD is known as zone of proximal development. So, as a teacher, we have to understand the zone of proximal development. So, what is this zone of proximal development? When we create a particular task and the task is connected to a particular learning outcome, we must know, because a task will be having multiple facets, multiple things of a particular task. For example, if you need to make a paper craft of anything, paper craft of an apple, then there is multiple facets, like cut the paper, then into the apple shape, then color the apple with red, color the leaves with green, and a lot of other things. So ZPD, zone of proximal development, is all about up to what level of task can be accomplished by the child. If you have make lot of steps, for example, you have make 5 steps of a particular task. That means if the all 5 steps will be completed, then the whole task will be completed. But sometimes the child is not able to do all the 5 steps. Now, if you feel that child can do up to step 1 and step 2, then step 1 and 2 are called zone of proximal development. That means they have gone up to step 2 to complete the task by themselves. They are not able to do step 3, 4, 5, and therefore step 1 and 2 are called zone of proximal development. That means they are the proximity of the whole task, and in the proximity they can go to some extent, not complete. So we must understand what is the zone of proximal development for a child. So in that, we have to create the activity from a level 1 being the easiest one, and level 5 being the last part of the activity. That means when the level 5 is done or the fifth step is done, child will be able to complete the task, and that becomes completion of the task. And teachers should ensure that up to what step child is comfortable in doing that. So in a nutshell, as a teacher, we must understand and define the zone of proximal development for each and every child and for each and every task being done by them. So under this, again, I bring to your notice that Edubarate Kids has got a task module under this prime methodology, and task module provides easy way of getting such kind of proximal development quite easily. So you can refer that task module in order to get that. Let's move to our sixth component. And sixth component talks about reduce the steps once the child is comfortable in getting close to the proximal development. I'll give you one example. So here, for example, you have got 6 steps of an activity. Let's say a nursery child who is 3 to 4, in between the 3 years to 4 years, and the learning objective or learning outcome is that child must write English alphabet letter A without much difficulty. Now, once we are starting the skill, then we have to step 1, child must understand and draw a slanting line. Number two, child must understand and draw a backward slanting line. This is number two. Number three, child must understand and draw a sleeping line. Then this is third. Fourth is child must understand and draw first the slanting line. Next, connecting slanting line, the uh, backward slanting line, and then to join both the backward and forward slanting line with a sleeping line. So we have got now 4 or 5 steps. So now these 4 or 5 steps gradually, and this becomes the learning objective is preparing A. So now one scaffolding becomes slanting line, one scaffolding is backward slanting line, one scaffolding is sleeping line, and where is the position? This is another scaffolding. So these are steps. Once the steps are done, then our things is confirmed. Now, once we just move little bit further, then all the steps can be merged. 2 steps can be merged, that can be one. What we can do, instead of one backward slanting line, one slanting line, we can put just make one slanting line and one backward slanting line in this set. So earlier it was 2 steps, now it has become one step. So the sixth component of scaffolding talks about reduce the number of steps involved in a particular activity. Why this is happening? Then child's skill understanding and skill building process becomes much faster. Child's cognitive skill becomes much faster, but it will be only possible if we have bigger number of steps. Later, we keep on reducing the steps one by one. So in the process, what will happen? The zone of proximal development will be extended further. It will be not limited to the lower ZPD, but it will be having a higher ZPD. Again, Adivariate Kids task module will be very, very useful for you to understand this thing. Now, after this understanding reduction of number of steps, we'll go to the last step or last component of understanding scaffolding. Here, the last one is reduce the dependency on the teacher to accomplish the task. Every point up to sixth component, there is a dependence on the teacher. Teacher is at each step of the child's hand holding the child to get these steps done. Now, final component is that the child should do the complete task independent of the teacher. And that's what is the learning outcome in the preschool year. So, when you completely withdraw yourself from the child in order to get these things done, and simply you say that make a letter A or any number of tasks, or write one essay or one sentence by using so many words. Child should able to do that absolutely independently. And when that is possible, you as a teacher win the war. And that should be the aim and objective of an ideal teacher. And from that perspective, scaffolding is so important, so powerful tool for the preschool teachers to understand the essence of the skill, essence of the technique, and believe me, such tool is so easy to adopt. And you can realize the moment you use and adopt this particular technique, children becomes very, very, adaptive to the skills that you are trying to teach. So when you define your learning objective, you get these things done. When the child is moving out of this class, child is absolutely independent in doing that. So I hope this is very, very clear and useful for the teachers in understanding scaffolding as one technique. And my submission is that please make sure scaffolding becomes a regular tool and technique for you while you are spending time with the child and ensuring this child to be the winner in the life as well as professional career going further. Thank you so much. And we'll be stopping here and we'll get back with another learning session soon for your benefit. Thank you so much.